Alrighty, sorry it's been a while since my last video. I've been busy, getting blocked on Twitter by pirate software. Okay, so Chrono Odyssey. Yeah, this one's a bit of a strange one. Chrono Odyssey is an up-and-coming MMO that they just had a beta playtest over the weekend. As far as I'm aware, this is the first time this game has been opened up for anyone to play. So this video is going to be less of a review and more of a first impressions type video. For one, this is just a beta or playtest, so things are likely to change between now and full release. Whenever that is, we'll get to that later. Secondly, to do a full review on an MMO, you really need to put hundreds of hours into it because there is a lot to an MMO. Things like player economy, late game builds, classes, dungeons, and endgame are impossible to get a handle on over one weekend, especially if that weekend is on an unfinished build of the game. So by the end of the playtest, I had just shy of 6 hours of game time with Chrono Odyssey, and I'm feeling pretty lukewarm on it. I don't hate it, but if this game launches anytime within the next 12 months, then I probably will. So let's start with the good. The character creator in this game is pretty decent. There is a lot of variety on how you can make your character, and it lets you go absolutely nuts on the proportions, so you can just build some absolute units. Combat is good to an extent. This is an action combat MMO, and it feels like the developers are going for a little bit of a Souls-like flair with the combat in this game. And it works better than I thought it would, considering it's an MMO. Granted, hit reg and laggy NPCs do test the limits of this combat system. My ping to the server may have also played a part to how jank it felt sometimes. But overall, I found it enjoyable. Keep in mind how it feels like with 6 hours of game time versus how it would feel like with 100 could be very different. Like a lot of MMOs releasing lately, this game features a 2-weapon combat system. With your class, you can have 2 weapons that you can hot swap switch between in combat. Unlike other games that have this system, the switch is very quick and tactile, which leaves room for some pretty cool combos, and it makes the combat feel extremely active. Each weapon comes with a skill tree that you can level up by using that weapon type. Each weapon has 4 slots for active skills as far as I know, which leaves setups feeling a little limited, and the skill trees did look a little bit basic, which I think might piss off some people who really like to min-max their setups and get like into the nitty-gritty. Again, could be a limitation put in by the beta, but for now it feels pretty basic, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because basic also means it's understandable, which means it's easy to onboard new players into. And for people like myself that have a bit of a caveman brain for this stuff, it's a little bit refreshing to see. That being said, I think there is some room for a bit more intricacy to this system. So when I started this game, I started with the class Berserker and found myself not really liking the game. And I was almost ready to call it quits after the tutorial, but after making another class and trying that out, which was the Ranger, I actually really started to like the game more. Because of the action-heavy nature of the game, dodging is a core mechanic to combat, especially with bosses. So while being squishier as a Ranger, I found having those few extra meters of leeway when dodging to be extremely beneficial. Also, if you play the Ranger, you can use the dual crossbows, which you get an alternate dodge, which makes you do this. I don't know why they made the dual crossbows act like dual pistols, but I don't really care. This is really fun to play. But I would like to know what people who did get to maybe like 10 to 20 or plus hours in the game over the weekend feel about the combat. So the problem I think will arise from this game having a more active combat system is that it takes kind of more energy to play a game like this effectively, and I'd like to know if people were still enjoying the combat the more they played of it, or did it kind of burn you out? Look, if you're one of those people who played this game for like 10 or more hours, let me know how you're feeling about the combat the further you got in. When it comes to the design of Chrono Odyssey, I would like to say it feels like a hybrid of Black Desert Online and New World, leaning more towards New World. It's got a good life skilling element to it, where a lot of the resources from the world can be collected naturally, which can then be used to craft new and better gear. Picking herbs for potions, killing and skinning animals for leather, mining rocks for stone and ore. You get the kind of gist of it. It's a bit like RuneScape. This is a good thing. There is a system here with room for depth that I hope is explored further in the full game. And that is about it for what I liked about the game. Everything else that Chrono Odyssey does is either not great or kind of straight up terrible. For the most part, this game kind of looks not good. It's going for a dark fantasy aesthetic, but unlike Souls-like games that have what I would call a gloomy mood lighting, Chrono Odyssey just feels like the colors are just washed out. The game has a weather system, and a lot of the time it kind of just makes the game look terrible. Even if you are running this game at maximum graphics, it doesn't look like a game made in this generation. And That's me being generous. Given MMOs usually have to sacrifice visual fidelity to get a stable frame rate on machines while accounting for the massive amount of players, MMOs are usually not the best looking games, and that's fine. And look, there are times when this game does in fact look good, but those instances are rare rather than the standard. But this game also has major performance issues. I had to run this game on high graphics to get a stable frame rate. I could run it at max, but it was less consistent with the frames. But it doesn't matter what you do run it at. For some reason, this game has a pretty terrible render distance, with foliage and detail popping up like right under my feet constantly when I would travel the world. Character and NPC animations are very jank. NPCs tend to lag and glitch around sometimes, which makes it extremely difficult to immerse yourself in this world. And it does feel like this game is going for a bit of immersion. When outside active combat, the UI almost completely disappears, which I like. Your health also disappears, so you got to remember like what health you were on once you finish the last combat instance before you start the next one, because you might start a combat with like 100 health. That happened to me once. The gameplay UI is fine for the most part. It does pretty much everything it needs to do. Work could definitely be done on the NPC interactions UI because this looks ugly as sin. The color scheme is awful, and having player choices towards the bottom of the screen it's terrible placement. It draws your eyes way too far away. The rest of the user interface options such as skills, options, and the rest are done in a very simplistic way, which I think is fine. I know a lot of MMO vets may not like it because they are in full screen menus, and as far as I know, there's no way to make these menus pop out, which I think would be a great feature, seeing as, you could do options and settings and inventory management or other things while your character is doing, life skilling actions. Because you can access menus while your character is like mining a rock or cutting down a tree. It'd be helpful if you could just, see your character at the same time while doing those. I feel like that's doable, but anyway, it does feel like the UI has been designed with console in mind. And I believe this will get a console release at some point, which may be the reason why there isn't a lot of intricacy to the design of the UI and, to be honest, the rest of the game. Now, as I mentioned before, this game is very buggy, which as a beta is to be expected to a point. Most of the bugs I encountered were very minor, had mostly to do with texturing and lighting not working the way it was supposed to, as well as looping sound bugs that wouldn't go away unless I restarted the game. Interactions not working and general AI nonsense are among the bugs I came across. I have heard of people reporting worse, more game-breaking bugs, but I haven't really looked too far into that. Anyway, bugs are to be expected in a pre-release build of the game, but what's important is how far away this is from being released, because I feel like if this game is released within the next 12 months, I don't think it's going to be good. Bugs are the least of this game's worries, and it's the least of my worries. There are a lot of systems that need to be bolstered, fixed up, and worked on before I would recommend anyone to really play this game. I think at its core, there is a game worth playing at some point, but that point is not in 2025. Chrono Odyssey doesn't yet have a release date other than a vague Q4 2025, but that could be pushed easily if needed, I feel like, and I feel like it is sorely needed. At the moment, it's just not up to scratch. But there is a base foundation that could make this a worthwhile MMO to play sometime in the future. The combat is fun, but it definitely needs tweaking. Life skill has potential so long as it is dupe proof and the economy is managed well. I feel like that shouldn't need to be stated, but New World really just lowered the bar of expectations. Everything else needs work and a lot of it. And I don't think this game is doomed like some people seem to be saying, but I also don't think this looks good either. The fundamental design feels unpolished, and with some time and effort, I do believe it could get there, but it really just depends on if this playtest was a real beta or what kind of betas have become, and it's being used as more of a marketing tool. According to one of the lead developers' Twitter, apparently the build of the game is an older one, but I've definitely heard that one before. Supposedly there will be another beta sometime in the future, so we'll just have to kind of see what or if it improves in the next iteration, whenever that may be. Anyways, that's all I have to say for this one for now, so we will keep an eye on Chrono Odyssey and see how things unfold. Thanks for watching this video. If you have made it this far, then please consider leaving the video a like and subscribing if you are new. Also, feel free to leave a comment if you feel like I missed something about the game you feel like people should know. Again, this was more of a first impressions rather than a full review. Yeah, there was definitely things that I missed. MMOs are just very vast, and this was a very quick video, and I mean, at least to my standards. Anyway, thanks to my YouTube members, Controlled Killer, Yellow, Melodia, and Jingles, you absolute legends. If you think my content is worth supporting, that little bit extra, I can't offer much at the moment, but perks are on the screen if you want to become a YouTube member. I also have a free to enter Discord, as well as a Steam curator page if you want to check out any of those things. Links are in the description below. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you all next time.